Good afternoon, all you awesome people out there. My name is Scott Churchson. Joining me shortly will be Mr. Brandon Kay. And welcome to the Sports Den on Spanglish World Network, Zingo TV, channel 249 and 250. Kindly make sure to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android. When you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free, so you know what? You can't beat the price there. And one more thing, Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. And as I just said, and as I promised, here we are, Mr. Brandon Kay. Sir, how the hell are you, man?
Good, Scott. It's been a while. Good to be back on the show.
I know. Listen, you've been doing a really cool thing out there. You've been teaching archery for a while. You know, a really, really cool summer activity. Just to clarify, nobody got shot, stabbed, anything like that. No, you didn't get shot in the foot or nothing.
No, we're good. We're good for now.
Good.
We're about it. Yeah, we're halfway through.
He said for now. We have to wait
for now.
Jury's still out. All right. So as always, basically, you can always find us on Spanglish World Network. Like I said, Spanglish Sports W on Twitter, and also Streampunk Sports, Streampunk ENT on Twitter. Want to start off, we got a bunch of things we're going to be covering today. First and foremost, I will be talking about Taty Castellanos. His departure from MLS and NYCFC is a very, very dark time for NYCFC fans. I know, I'm on the subreddit, I cover the team. We will also be talking some NBA. If we get a little bit of time, we might actually talk a little bit about the Subway Series tonight, a whopping, excitable, fantastic Subway Series between the Yankees and the Mets. A 2-day series dead in the middle of the week because God knows that's great for ratings. And also, I do want to talk a little bit about the Kyler Murray clause, as I'm calling it, the Kyler clause, because that is just unbridled, unmitigated hilarity. So, all right, first and foremost, like I said, by the way, if you got any questions, by all means, drop it in the chat there. Want to talk, like I said, Taty Castellanos. This is a young man who, by God, is only 23 years old. Came to the NYCFC back in 2019 as a sprite 19-year-old at the time, looked a lot younger then. Since then, he has not only won the Golden Boot, which is there, as you can see, for leading the league in goals in last season. He was also well ahead of everybody else this season with 13 goals in only 17 games. So, as I put down below, Taty Castellanos is now officially on his way to Spain, having basically been on loan to Girona FC, which is a second-tier league in Spain, but he gets his wish. He finally actually heads out to a team in Europe like he wanted to. NYCFC fans, like I said, are completely 100% in mourning. However, the rest of the league is simultaneously rejoicing because they no longer have to deal with this young man. I know soccer is not entirely your thing. If you have any thoughts,
no. But one thing I will say though, that from what I have picked up on MLS this season, working with you guys, especially you specifically, I just think the timing of it is terrible.
Oh God, yeah.
Like the timing could almost be worse, but could barely be worse. That's really the extent of the knowledge that I have. Because NYCFC is in a position to do something this season in terms of winning. So, yeah, and this is your realm. This is your vein of life. But from what I know, the timing could not be really worse.
I mean, in this particular case, he has openly and admitted that he was ready, and there's nothing else here. You know, he won a championship with the team. You know, he won the Golden Boot because and led the team. There is nothing else that he can do at the AAA soccer level here. And he had openly admitted he's ready to move on and head over to Europe or back down to Argentina or anything like that. For him, this is a fantastic move. You know, he's officially on loan, so all Girona has to do is just pay his contract this year, and then officially he comes back to the team next year come June for NYCFC if they don't negotiate a deal somewhere else along the line, which is probably what's going to end up happening, some kind of a formal deal. But for him, this is the one thing I did notice when it came to Taty. His English was very, very he had a massive challenge when it came to speaking English. So every time he did a press conference, every time he did any kind of interview, everything was always had to be translated, usually by a guy named Esteban. In this case, because he's Argentinian, Spanish is more or less his primary language, albeit, South American dialect. He's going to Spain. He can speak the language pretty darn well there, much better than he could here. And as a result, I think he's going to fit in a hell of a lot better there than he did here, just because of the fact that he can connect more and speak better. It's going to be a challenge for him. It is a tougher league over there than it is here. But again, he's 23 years old. He did everything he could have asked for. The NYCFC fans are not blaming him in the least for the fact that he is gone. They understand how this league works. When head coach Ronnie Deila went over to Belgium just over a month ago, the fans were again in mourning, but they respected it because of the fact that it's still something that is part of the MLS league. Now, what's going to be interesting here is next season, Apple TV is going to be broadcasting all of these games. If someone like Taty Castellanos comes along again, and you got Chicharito out west, you got players like that, is Apple TV going to fight a little bit harder to keep them there for ratings? I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what ends up happening there. But for this team right now and what it means for NYCFC, like you said, this could not have come at a worse time. You know, they have a forward right now in Aber who's been putting up good numbers, but he cannot necessarily, I think, do the minutes that Taty could. They got Tyler Magno, who is on the rise, but he's more of an assist guy and a winger than he is actually a goal scorer. At least that's the way the direction's going. But as far as the rest of the league and Philadelphia, to which our co-host J.D. Walker covers the Philadelphia Union, he has told me outright that the Union fans are rejoicing hardcore because they don't have to deal with that guy no more. And that's a big deal right there. It is a big moment for them. And I think what's going to end up happening is this could mean that NYCFC will not, in fact, repeat as champions. I mean, how can you? You got, the best player is gone. So good luck to NYCFC. Good luck to Taty. I think he's going to crush it over there. Again, the kid's 25. The kid's 23 years old. He was born in 1998. He's got a bright, bright future ahead of him right now. And you know what? I think the sky's the limit for him. So, all right. Any other thoughts on that before we let that go?
Just to your point you just made about making this the decision. Excuse my language there. I can't speak.
Hello to you. Not hello to me.
Yeah, right. That these fans see these organizations. If the organization makes moves, right, and this goes across all sports, the fans, the organization, they made a move. That's great, but when a player makes a move, then a lot of a sudden everybody's all up in arms, and why can't and we see this a lot with basketball specifically, with the player mobility and everything. Look, these players and soccer is different in terms of how players can move and where they can move in that whole transfer window. And I'm really not even too familiar with that, but just in the sense that players, if they want to make a decision, they should be able to, especially if it's obviously legal, if they're not any of this, back behind the scenes tampering, any kind of crazy stuff. If it's, hey, if it's what he wants, God bless him. And the team, if you're a fan, you root for the team, and that's really it. We see it in all these other sports, and it's a business. And at the end of the day, yes, to us, it's an entertainment, but to them, to these guys, it's a business. It's their life, it's their careers, both on the field, front office, ownership, all of them. It's business and careers for them, entertainment for us, and I think we have to keep that in mind as fans.
And that's the big part of that. Now, in this case, like I said, I've used MLS as like I said, AAA on a soccer level. This is not like AAA in baseball. I mean, when you look at somebody like the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, these players are struggling a lot of times to survive. They make $2,500, $3,000 a month. The lowest paid player on NYCFC makes $84,000 a year. So at a AAA level, that's you can survive on $84,000 a year, I think.
Especially where these AAA teams are located in land that's really relatively cheap and just quality, cost of living in those areas is lower than our area specifically. It's definitely doable. But no, I agree with that point. I do.
And like I said, for him, I think it's a great move. He had expressed, he's like, I've done everything I can here. There's nothing more for me here, but he's like, as long as I'm here, I will play full throttle. I will do everything I can. And the fans gave him one hell of a send-off in that last game against Miami. And it meant a lot to him. I think he's going to carry that for a long time. He had some really cool things to say there. The post-game press conference was like 90% Taty and like 10% actual game itself. But that's what he meant for the team. Like I said, last year, the only goal that was actually scored by NYCFC before the shootout when they had the championship was scored by him as well. So the impact that he left was bigger than anything you could have asked for. 32 goals in the last year and a half across, I think across 49 games. I think it was 32 goals in 49 games, I think is what he pulled for this team. And that is a big hole to fill, and I don't know if they can do it. There is some talk that they may pull from the outside. We'll have to see. But they're going to have to do something because I don't think they're going to be able to hold up with teams like New York, Montreal, and also Philadelphia and basically get far in the playoffs without somebody of his caliber there. So, cool. All right. So let's wrap that out. Like I said, good for him. Appreciate him. Proud of him. In your case right now, I know that there was a couple of things you want to talk about on the NBA level. To be honest, I have no idea what you wanted to get into.
We can save NBA to the end and get to more prevalent topics.
All right.
That NBA, that's all talk. That's all speculation stuff at the moment.
All right.
So let's get to more tangible things here.
All right. Dealer's choice. Do you want to go Kyler Murray or Subway Series?
You know what? Let's start with Kyler. Let's start with Kyler.
I love this. I love this. Oh my God.
This is interesting.
I'll let you roll first. Go ahead.
First off, I read this, and I blinked, and the first image that came to my head was Jamarcus Russell's stupid face. Like, and you know, and we were kind of talking about this yesterday in our messages and stuff. It's not great. If you're a Cardinals fan and you see that in your news, great. We signed him, but then there's that, and then it's like, wait, does he know the playbook? I mean, how far does this extend? This kind of rabbit hole of what is stipulation stating he has to study. I mean, look,
I've got the contract and deal right here too. Go ahead.
If this were, man, I don't even know this because this is really. I was not expecting this to come out of especially a young, not even an older guy, but a young guy like this. I don't know. It's not great. We've from the famous story of Jamarcus Russell. He's given the VHS tape and he's told to go home over the weekend, watch game or the day off, go watch the game tape, and then come back. And we'll work on it. So he comes back and the coaches ask, "Oh, what was the game tape? Whatever. How was the study? Oh, it was great. I remembered this, that, and the other." It was a blank tape. So they know he was BS out of his it was BS out of his behind. I don't think this is near that level. We know even at this point, if Kyler stopped today, he's 1,000 times the NFL player that Jamarcus Russell was. But look,
but here's the problem. You dropped $48 million a year across 5 years, $230 million.5, nearly $250 million. And you have a stipulation saying you have to do homework.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. You don't love it. You don't love to see it. I mean, look, we're not asking these guys to study film like Tom Brady, where it's work. I come home, I make my avocado cactus smoothie, and then I'm watching tape the rest of the night. Like we're not asking you to be that at that level. Or, the Jamarcus Russell thing, that's, kind of an exaggeration, but like fall somewhere in between, closer to the Tom Brady end of the spectrum.
But see, that's Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they were study hawks. Philip
love to study. They almost love to study and watch film as much as playing.
When the Chargers went from San Diego to LA, Philip Rivers bought like a specially designed like minivan, like Winnebago, that had a full entertainment center. So he would basically have a 3-hour ride up. Someone would drive him, and he would study tape on that 3-hour ride up and 3-hour ride back. That was what he did to be able to adapt when his team moved 3 hours north.
Yeah, he also has like 18 kids, so the Winnebago fitting all the kids going to
that is probably part of it too. Yeah,
that's
like
part of it too. Yeah,
but I mean, he's got to do four. I just want to read this. He has to do 4 hours a week. Players shall not receive credit for
only 4. Only 4 hours.
4 hours a week, which isn't even that bad. But
outside of being facility film time, at home, so only 4 hours a week.
But
So-
here's the big thing. Player is not personally studying or watching material while it's displayed. Or B, player is engaged in any other activity that may distract his attention. For example, watching television, playing video games, or browsing the internet, such as while the material is being played. So they put the stipulation in there saying you're not allowed to get distracted and screw off and play on your phone. This says so much about this contract. You basically, the Deshaun Watson deal, a lot of people, myself included, had a hard time with that deal. The Kyler Murray one, I was willing maybe to say it was okay until I read that. Because a player that basically makes that kind of coin should not have a stipulation like that in there. That should be so intrinsically burned into their skull to study every nuance of every person coming at him, every nuance of every single receiver that he's got, every single running back, to know them so well, to know what they're going to do before they put their foot down on the field. But they had to put it in this contract.
Yeah, no, that's right. You don't love it. It's not great.
Oh, I laugh. I do love it because I find it.
There is. Well, we don't have to deal with it. I mean, would we love to have Kyler? Sure. The studying part, I live with it. But hey, I would be annoyed and pretty pissed if Zach Wilson is signing a contract in a few years with this same clause. Although, if we've been recent on Zach Wilson news, distractions, it might be a little more of all right, maybe 3 hours. But
didn't Kurt Warner date or he eventually married his wife? I think was like 6 years older and had 2 kids of her own too, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean they've been together for all this time, but Zach Wilson, I guess it's one of those things that he's 22, 23. What different types to make a world, but but as far as this goes, dear God.
And it just look in this sport specifically, your talent can get you to this point.
Mm-hmm.
The studying, the commitment to the other part of the game, the in between the ear part of the game, is what takes you up here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what gets you to that level. And obviously, then there are levels of being at that level as well. But you don't love to see it. I think it's not great. Will it be something that kind of is forgotten about? In a week's time? Yeah, sure. Like a lot of stories, but you don't really love to see this.
Nope.
But it's only 4 hours, not 5. It's only 4.
Yeah, but see, you have to put the stipulation to say do 4 hours. I mean, that comes out to be
but here's my question.
40 minutes a day.
I'm thinking about this. Here's my question. How do we know that these 4 hours, he's doing the 4 hours, he's going to be doing it without his phone, PS5, whatever.
He might have somebody watch
headphones on.
He might have somebody watch him.
That or what? You got to have somebody on a Zoom call and you clock in your hours. You something like that. That's I don't know, man.
Yeah,
not great.
Great. I mean, Kyler Murray was my fantasy quarterback last year. He probably will not be this year.
Wow. So that's really yeah.
Dude, that's
making him undraftable to you.
My fantasy team name last year was Cobra Kyler, which I thought came up with that one on my own, I think, actually too. But
I had one. The one I had rolled with for basically the 3 years that Sam Darnold was my beloved Sam was a Jet. I had my team was Hey Darnold.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So
well,
I can't roll with that anymore.
There's 87 quarterbacks down in Carolina. So whoever's the starter, you have a pick of whatever you want to call your game name.
Yeah, it's true. And it's got to be clever. It's got to be a pun. If it's not a pun, you're just doing it wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's you got to do the play on words on that. There's full websites that are dedicated to fantasy team names.
They're like name generators.
Yeah. I might have to this year. So
you should. Then you don't draft Kyler.
I will not draft Kyler, but that's okay.
Undraftable Kyler.
Dude, my team somehow will have negative wins. Whoever I draft is automatically guaranteed to tear an ACL in week 1. That's just how it works.
Yeah, probably.
So.
I do well fantasy football, so we'll see this upcoming season as well.
It's just money I just give away. So, All right. So anyway, basically we're about 20 minutes in at this point. We got 35 minutes left to go. Find us always on, like I said, Streampunk Sports on YouTube, and also Spanglish Sports W on YouTube as well, on the Spanglish World Network side of things. So in this case, pick of the litter for you. Do you want to do NBA? You want to do baseball? You want to do something completely out of the ordinary? Choice is yours.
You know what? I could throw something to you from left field, just in terms of we hadn't talked about it in terms of the show.
All right.
You want to go Hall of Fame? You want to go
Yes.
Baseball Hall of Fame? First off, congrats to Ortiz. This isn't the conversation that we're about to have is not his fault. It's obviously the institution's fault and the Writers Association's fault. The biggest Pandora's box in sports has now been opened.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
And it's not even close, because the opening Pandora's box, the slippery slope domino effect that this is going to have for the next, especially 5 to 10 years of Hall of Fame voting, I think really is immeasurable, because now you got to, even with the slightest speculation, if they're are worthy, you got to put them in now. And then it just builds and builds. And then we're getting to Maguire and Sosa and that level of, steroid usage. But I want to say this, and I said this in our chat. We have to stop with this idea that the steroids that these guys are using are to the level that it turns them from Steve Rogers to Captain America. Like, this is not super serum. Like, this wasn't developed by SHIELD. This is just, like, you still have to have the underlying talent and ability to do that. Anybody could just be huge and strong, but you still got to have Barry Bonds' talent to go up there and hit almost 80 home runs in a season juiced still. So I think we have to, especially when pitchers are doing it as well, batters are doing it. Like, we can't eat whichever came first, chicken or the egg, whether the batters did it first. You can't blame the pitchers for doing it to counteract. Or if the pitchers did it first, then you can't blame the batters for doing it for doing it to counteract. But we glorify, especially 1990s pitching.
Yeah.
And early to mid 2000s pitching, we glorify it. But then the minute we get to the steroid use for batters, it's the biggest no out there. And I think the Writers Association and the institution has got to stop with this. Just stop. You are not these paid guardians of the hall, armored knights where you gotta, like, you're some stat nerd in your basement that you on your typewriter. Like, come on, man. Like, these guys deserve to be in. I don't care what they juiced with. It doesn't matter. These guys were so good beforehand that it shouldn't even matter. Like, I get in time of the suspensions and the court cases and trial. I get it. But we are in 2022 now. How can you not have a Hall of Fame where the all-time home run leader,
yep,
and the most Cy Youngs, isn't it, with Clemens, or it's something like most Cy are not in the Hall? That just doesn't.
And to a different level, the guy with the most hits of all time too.
Yeah, right.
We brought that conversation up for decades now.
Right. That's the Pete Rose also is another thing.
But I mean, the heels are in the sand for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say even more so.
But what's funny about this is Ortiz, was he ever actually proven to have taken it? Or did he come out and say it? I have my theories about Ortiz, but in a different way.
I could look it up. I can't recall if he was, like, in real time, like, called or proven guilty.
Because the original Mitchell report was obviously very, very heavily slanted in favor of Boston. Because George Mitchell was on the committee, was on the Boston Red Sox board of directors.
Right.
So It's like basically when a company's like, we did our own investigation, didn't find anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
looking, yeah.
We didn't
And
do anything wrong.
we
We investigated.
And then eventually came out later, and they brought in like low level, like mid tier mop up relievers, like, oh yeah, that guy for Boston did it, But in this case here, I think the reason why Ortiz got in is because he is so immensely popular as a color guy. I mean, on MLB Network, on Fox, you saw him, basically just hanging out with the players during the All-Star game.
Yeah, but now you got A-Rod, who has been working with him, and Pedro now. Well, not Pedro now, but Pedro hadn't.
Oh, Pedro was already in. Pedro wasn't a problem.
But no, I'm talking about guys that are in these spots, spotlight still, whether it be broadcasting or stuff like that. The Pandora's box has been opened.
Oh God,
and where does it stop?
I mean, here's the thing. I think personally, if you ask my opinion, I think David Ortiz will be the anomaly. I think the heels are in the sand for everybody else. A-Rod, Clemens, McGuire, Sosa, all of these guys that did, obviously do it. I think they're still not going to get in. I think David Ortiz was that one guy who's going to get in and bypass the rule. And I think, honestly, I think it's going to stop with him.
I would agree
so charismatic.
with you.
Boston loves him, especially after that issue that happened 2004, 2005.
Well, and then in 13.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
With the marathon, right?
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah,
the marathon. Yeah, yeah. No, he is that level of beloved. The only thing is, though, I would agree with that point if we were going to continue with the traditional voting method.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are going to get to a point where these like new I don't even know what they're, but like these new generation committees that are going to look back now and do I don't want to say it's a brand new voting, but it's some type of new outlook on the voting where it might happen. It might. So,
I mean, I listen. I would 100% be wrong on this, and I very well could be. Just my thinking is right now because of his off the field charisma, and he's got more charisma than A-Rod has. A-Rod is on ESPN, but there's something when you see their personality.
It's more natural with David.
Maybe that's what it is. With A-Rod, it's more business-like. It's more reflective, a little bit of softer personality.
Almost cringe.
Well, yeah, I mean that too. But I mean, David Ortiz. I mean, I don't want to. Bombastic is probably the wrong word. I think it's a negative word. It's not the word I'm going for here. But I think somebody who is just so personable and so likable. And I mean, when David Ortiz was talking to the players during the All-Star game, I was sitting there scrolling through Twitter to see what people were saying in that moment. And it was overwhelmingly popular that he was there. If A-Rod did the same thing, you would not be getting that kind of love.
No. Yeah, 100%. I think that's definitely the case. And like we see, like Pandora's box has now been opened. The biggest one in sports, I think. So we'll see. Next year is another year, and we'll see what happens. So, but Hall of Fame voters, stop it.
Yeah,
just cut it out. Like they didn't do anything to you personally, so just stop. This isn't about you. Put your egos aside. Put these guys in the hall.
We never found out who that one guy that voted no against Derek Jeter, though. Still waiting on who that dude's never coming forward. Whoever that is.
You know what though? Now that we're getting more and more removed from that, I'm almost envious of the balls he had to do. At first, I was like, "Oh, the way was on a guy to be able to do that." Who are you to do that? Like, but the more again, you shouldn't have done that. Like, don't be if it happens to be, that's fine. But don't actively choose to be the guy just to prevent or to really go against the grain. Like, you're not proving anything by doing that.
Sometimes people do that for the purposes of being able to brag on it. He can't, whoever this guy is. Because it's like, I just voted against it.
So we've now gotten to he's the Steve Bartman of the Writers Association.
No, actually, no. He's
not. No, because that was wide open in public.
Yeah, I was going to say Steve Bartman. Now, 19 years later,
and we've talked about this about a month or two ago too.
Oh yeah, Bartman, who's still I think hiding away somewhere in Florida. Last I heard, the Gislin Reza of baseball. Yeah. Pull that name up if you need to. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as Ortiz goes, I think it stops there. You think it's going to open up something wider. Time will tell. I mean, of course, in this case here, does it open up for Robbie Cano, who's now on his 9th team in the last 7 weeks?
What I haven't even looked at Cano's numbers. I never once thought Cano would even forgetting the usage. I never thought Cano was that level.
You know, I don't. I mean, actually, I'm kind of curious now to see what kind of numbers he's pulling. Last team was the Braves, Atlanta.
He's still on them. He's still on them as of today. Oh, okay.
He's above the Mendoza line. He's 211 right now in 19 at bats. No homers, no triples, but a double. So four hits and 19 at bats. So he's probably an off the bench DH at this point.
Cano, I would not even consider it a Hall of Famer.
Fair enough.
And not once in his career, and he's gotten older, that I think, man, Cano, I think he might get the Hall of Fame vote. Never once did it cross my mind. Not once.
That's fair. So, all right.
I would give it to a guy like Ryan Braun before I did Robbie Cano. Similar PED situations, long career, you know. I would say equal level of talent, you know, for their position, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would put Braun in before Cano, but I don't think either of them are close to Hall of Fame level.
Fair enough. Do one more topic real quick on baseball, and we'll let it go. The exciting once a year annual tradition of the Subway Series is happening. 2 games, middle of the week on a Tuesday and Wednesday. That is going to be a ratings boom. You know,
because they're so stupid for this.
They really are.
Forgetting the fact that it's
about 25 years since we started the interleague play.
I hate these dumb 2-game series.
Yeah.
It doesn't even feel like a series. I blink and both games were done already. I loved years ago when it was 4 games, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 at City or Shea, 2 at Yankee Stadium, or they had a split series, 2 a year, 3 at Shea Stadium or Yankee Stadium first, and then 3 at the other stadium later on in the season, which they're kind of doing now. But you're doing it in the middle of the week, like the dead middle of the week. 2 games. First off, people are going to be crisscrossing all over the city trying to get to the stadiums. This is madness. I don't know why they do this. I don't know.
I guess it's still popular, but I mean, honestly, again, I mean, the reality is it is far more important to win in your own division, or heck, even in your own, your own league, than it is to actually win this.
Right. But it is more interesting this season because the World Series talk is going to be around this. Because
they're both in first place.
We are about to hit August. Both teams are in first place. If the Mets win tonight, they're at 60 wins. So both teams are basically at 60 wins and above, right? Both teams, I would say, are inarguably 2 of the best 5 or 6 teams in all of baseball. This is exciting. And I wish this was a 3 or 4 game series to really have these 2 teams go at each other. Because if one team wins tonight, one team wins tomorrow, then it's like, yeah, right. And then they'll play each other in about a month. I think it's equally a month from now. I think the end of August. So we just have some breaking news that I'll get to after this.
Okay.
I think this is exciting, and it would be. I will say this. I expect at least a split. But I would be more surprised if the Mets won both games than if the Yankees won both games.
I wouldn't.
But that was until I saw Stanton is out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and look, going up against Walker, who's pitched great this season. Scherzer, who has been lights out since coming back from his stint on the injured list. I've been waiting for this,
And no DeGrom, and you're still in
all
first
season long. No, I've been waiting for this all season long. Like once I realized that before the season started that the Mets were going to be good, I was looking at these two series, these 4 games total, and I was excited, like watering at the mouth, excited. Hey, we could have a 22nd or 22 year anniversary of or a 22-year repeat, I guess, of the Subway Series World Series. So it's exciting.
Remember, if the hit run full speed when the from first base, if the ball looks like a home run, team up Harris.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can't wait for the series. I think they're in City tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they're City this series.
Yeah.
So they'll be at Yankee Stadium in August. I'm putting every lefty in the lineup. Putting every lefty right over that little oh, man.
See, here's the thing. I can see the Mets going to the World Series before I see the Yankees going there.
Really?
Because all roads in the AL go through Houston. Yeah. And I remember Houston was my pick from the beginning of the year for winning the World Series this time. So, and I'm still kind of pretty close to sticking to that. And when the Yankees,
I don't remember if I had a definitive one.
I'll have to go back and look, but I remember specifically saying that because I realized that 2017 was rear view, and this was going to be Dusty's year.
Yeah, I probably picked our Mets.
You probably did. Listen, not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. But
so we can get to this.
But one last thing before you're closing. I told you basically to see me again in July and see me again in August if the Yankees started to dip downward. And you know what? Their numbers have. So they're getting tired. I called this in April. I'm bragging on myself here. I called that back in April.
And I think the timing is terrible too. I mean, we got 9.5 weeks out from playoffs. Stanton just hit the IL. Numbers are dipping. I think Yankees are kind of in a downward trend. Mets are a little bit back in an up. They've been varying coming out of All-Star break.
But no DeGrom. What does that say?
Not yet.
What does that say?
That's fine. That's fine.
He
had a minor, he had a minor setback about a week or two ago, but then came back the next start, and for even a briefer start than before was fine. He's on schedule to have another rehab start. I believe tomorrow. I think in Syracuse.
1996 Yankees. They basically, I think it was July or August before David Cohn made his first start. He carried that pitching staff the rest of the way because he missed the first half of the season because of the aneurysm. Jacob deGrom, I think I could see this being the same sort of scenario where he is going to be rested and hungry. And that is going to come big come October because when pitchers have that normal fatigue at that point, he will be just rolling into his prime, for that season right there.
What I would do, though, is I would just add him to the rotation. I wouldn't take anybody out.
You don't have to. You don't have to rely on him
because you need to preserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if you are in a series, where you're in a tight 6th game, and you have to pitch him on a more of a traditional, 5-man rotation day, he's able to. He has not been overloaded. I would just. My only thing is, as soon as he's done whatever rehab pitching he's done, wrap this up in bubble wrap, put it in a towel, anything. I want him bubble boy.
Lock him in one of those germ-free rooms.
I don't want anything. I don't even want specks of dust landing on his arm. I don't even want himself feeding himself dinner. I want him spoon-fed. I want him drinks. No. Nothing. You don't even move your arm. But I'm still so excited about this Mets team. We possibly talks now of getting Wilson Contreras
Mhm.
and David Peterson from the Cubs. That'll be a huge help. But I still like a lot where the Mets are right now. The
You should.
Braves scare me just in terms of division, but other than that, I'm really confident in the Mets in the National League.
Nice. All right. You said you had something that you wanted to get to mention real quick, right?
Yeah, just because Lord Voldemort at it again. Julio Jones going to the NFL.
All
Julio
right.
Jones is joining Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay.
Oh my God!
So, how do you feel about
you
that?
You could start. You could start.
All right. Honestly, here's the thing. I don't blame him entirely for doing this. I mean, you got to go with what if you want to try and win. I mean, you can't discount Tampa at all. You can't discount Tom Brady ever. I know last year may have been just a little bit of a struggle year, things like that. But I think in this case for him, it makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to find it's a 1-year deal. I don't have the breakdown on exactly what the deal is yet. But I mean, a 1-year deal, you could take a flyer on something like that.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with it. I think it'll be one of those things that I think he will be protected a little bit more. And I think that's going to be a good thing. He doesn't have to be the guy. He just has to be a guy.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So,
that's the big thing that, that team has been allowed to have.
what he should, I think if he were smart, I would put him in the slot with Brady. I wouldn't throw him outside, but then you are running the risk of him getting clocked by linebackers in the middle of the field. So I do the question is, does Julio Jones have enough in the tank?
Mm-hmm.
If he can be what they wanted Antonio Brown to do, he can do it. But he's not the Falcons' Julio Jones.
That's exactly it. And also, ironically enough, he knows that division pretty well. That I think is a good win for that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no other receiver that would know these teams better than Julio Jones.
Oh yeah.
And the Saints, Falcons, and who's the other team I'm missing?
Carolina.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Panthers.
But the thing about Julio Jones also keeping in mind is that he's not a spring chicken anymore.
No.
I mean, he's what, 33, 34, something like that?
Maybe 35 by the time season starts, even gets towards playoff time. Yeah.
So he's 33 right now. He'll be 34 by 34. Super Bowl next year.
There you go.
So in this case here, this might be his last shot. So from that perspective alone, it makes sense because you accomplish everything you need to financially. You're set for life. But he's never really gotten a ring. He's never really gotten that far in the playoffs. So
he'll get the Hall of Fame nod.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, he also he was with that team that blew it a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Against New England, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. That's right. Sorry. So in this case here, granted, you could argue he's joining the enemy, things like that, but he came that close to finally getting a Super Bowl ring and lost it. So this could easily be his last shot. And you know what? I don't blame him. And again, he does not have to be the guy. He just has to be a guy. And I think that takes a lot of.
That's definitely it. That is it. Yeah.
And honestly, I think for him, it just could be fun to be able to just have an explosive offense and start catching passes when he needs to.
Yeah. So. No, I agree. Like I said, just do what they wanted Antonio Brown to do, which obviously he is one of the few receivers in the last 10, 15 years that can and did do what Antonio Brown was doing. So even if at this age, it just a good percentage of what he used to be, I think Tom Brady could make the most out of it.
100%. So, All right. So you had a couple of things. We got about 10 minutes left at this point. You had a couple of things that you wanted to talk about NBA level, I think, right?
Yeah, it's we got all this free agency talk and stuff like that. These trade buzzes with
I think
Kevin
yeah,
Durant
just talk
and
Durant and they go
Kyrie.
north.
Yeah, and Kyrie Irving. I mean, today does he want to play in Brooklyn or LA? We don't know anymore. He keeps flip flopping. Um, it's very interesting because Kevin Durant, I don't think is helping himself
Mhm.
in any situation. Um, and the only thing I will say is I think there are a lot of fans that are coupling Kevin Durant with the Kyrie situation as
Mhm.
if they're comparable, and I don't think they are. Um, but look, whatever, it's very clear. We are 16 years into Kevin Durant's career.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. It has been a while. He was in Seattle. He was a supersonic
Hmm.
for those kids that don't remember and aren't old
Yeah,
enough.
the team that
Kevin
you
Durant
actually
was
know
a
them as the
legitimate
Oklahoma
Seattle
City Thunder.
supersonic in this league. Yeah. Um, it is. We see the move to Golden State,
Mhm.
right? We saw the move to Brooklyn. We see this move that he wants to happen.
Mhm.
It's very clear and apparent that Kevin Durant needs to be in a very, very specific situation. And if it's not happening, or if it's not a winning situation like in Golden State, then he is going to look to bail. That is the only comparable thing I think I see with Kyrie. Kyrie is just in this whole other world where, as I've said, if he could just be his own franchise, he would. He'll just come to an arena, pick four or five people out of the crowd to roll out his team and his sixth man, and he'll play. He'll be the Brooklyn Irvings, like he really would be. And we hear this day he wants to be in LA for sure. Oh nope, it's today. He wants to be in Brooklyn. He's dead set on being a Net this season. And we see the Nets. They can't get a handle on this situation at all. Um, so it's really they're in a mess, and there doesn't seem to be a light at the end of the tunnel for either of them, Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. Um, we see Kevin Durant, his two teams, Phoenix and Miami, being his reported two hot
Mhm.
destinations. Both teams were the number one seed. Both teams are established. So he wants to be the guy and a guy, but he doesn't want to be the only guy.
Mhm.
And that's where the problem is. Where when it comes to a lot of the LeBron talk, I think the LeBron talk comparisons have faded in these last few years as this stuff has started to unfold with Durant. But in those years in Oklahoma City and in Golden State for sure, I mean, LeBron couldn't hold a candle to Kevin Durant.
Mhm.
What are you talking about? I mean, Kevin Durant's back-to-back Finals MVP. I mean, LeBron would be what if he was on that? Just literally one for one swap. You're telling me LeBron also wouldn't be a back-to-back champion Finals MVP?
Probably would be.
He
Yeah.
absolutely would be, and it's not even a question. But it's very similar. If we're going to get to a trade package with Durant, it is unless you are having a multiple team trade where you could just take a little bit from every team and not all from one team for Durant, you were going to get the exact situation you got with Carmelo Anthony coming to the Knicks, where you had to give a core and so much of your important pieces to Denver to
Mhm.
get Anthony. And then when he came over, it wasn't as great as they were hoping. So there are teams that can make the move I think Miami can make the move but Bam, I'm sorry, Bam is untouchable. And if I'm Phoenix, only Devin is untouchable. I would say Chris Paul could be a trade piece. I don't think so. I don't think it'll come to that. But the Nets are really asking a price that is, you are giving up the farm and everything else for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they are overdoing it, maybe to be somewhat spiteful of the whole situation. But you are still talking about Kevin Durant. You are going to have to give up a lot. And we going to the Kyrie situation now, to give Kevin Durant a break. With the Lakers, we hear all these talks about the Lakers don't want to give up these future draft picks. It is mind-boggling to me that Jeannie Buss and the Lakers are more concerned about 2027, 2028, 29 draft picks, kids that are in freaking middle school right now. They are more concerned about than bringing a Kyrie over or to try and, make right of the Westbrook part of the equation, right? Because we've seen
as you have LeBron on the lower end, on the back end of his career by far.
Right, but he just put up 30 points a game. So
yeah, but how long can that last is the question.
Then you milk it. You milk this LeBron train till it's dry, whether you get one more, two more chips, and you worry about these middle schoolers when you get to them, when they get league eligible. I just think they're really mishandling this. The Lakers, Nets are mishandling it. All I know is my Heat are chilling in Miami, waiting to start training camp to hopefully get back to at least conference finals, into the finals again for the second time in 4 years. So that is my NBA talk. Anything else you got?
Well, at this point, we actually sort of have to wrap it up. We only got about 3 minutes left. Anyway, so is there anything else you want to talk about real quick?
Any predictions where you think Soto's going?
LA. Basically, for me, a whole thing. And I don't know, was it JD that mentioned, somebody mentioned maybe that for the All-Star game, they didn't, the Nationals didn't actually give him a charter flight?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think JD wasn't able to be here today. I got to clarify that with him.
Right.
But yeah, apparently they were so pissed off about what happened with him turning down the $440 million deal. Let's face it, that team is in disarray. I don't blame him. That they did not actually give him like a first-class flight. He had to fly coach. So I think personally, LA is the main stop because LA just prints money anyway. I think if this was George Steinbrenner, I would say the Yankees would be plausible. But again, it has to be right now. It's a trade because he's arbitration eligible for the next 2 off seasons. I think. Yeah, right. 2026 or something. So will he make bank in off season? Absolutely. But the question is what team is going to be able to pay right now? LA.
Come over to Flushing. Uncle Stevie's got a beautiful penthouse in Manhattan, looking over the Central Park or the skyscrapers.
If they weren't in the same division, I would say yes, but they are, and that's where I think it hurts them.
Yeah, but it might. I get the division, but like, you're not winning the division anyway.
Yeah, but you might be trying to think 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now when the kid's 27, 28 years old.
I think it would be too hard. Like I get rebuilding in baseball. I do. But I think the Nats have fumbled the bag.
Oh my God, yeah. And the fact that they offered 15 years, 440, and he still said no. There was a line I remember when the Orioles were really, really bad 20 years ago. The GM was like, nobody wants to take our money. Well, this is the kind of same thing. Nobody wants to take national money. You do if you have to keep the career going. But at the end of the day, no. I mean, that's a team in disarray. They are years away, I think, from actually being competitive again. That is a very strong division, a division they should not be in. Their only, kills me to say it, their only competition right now is really the Marlins.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about Donnie Baseball over there. So, All right, we got to wrap this up though. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. You're rocking as always. Tonight, 7 p.m.
Good to be back.
Yeah, good. Appreciate that, and I appreciate the assist and everything. Tonight, Tales from the Film Set, we will be talking about the passing of David Warner, the passing of Paul Sorvino, and now the passing of Leave It to Beavers' Tony Dow. 3 days, 3 veteran deaths, a lot of topic, maybe a little morbid.
The deaths, those celebrity deaths, they without a doubt, every single time always come in threes.
They pretty much do. So
every single time.
Yep.
And it's gotten to a point where when there's a major one, then I'm like, all right, who's next?
Dude, after Paul Sorvino, I was like, who's next? And then I saw Tony Dow today. So, but yeah, we're going to hit that tonight. Brandon, thank you as always. I appreciate it. Take care, guys. Got to run. Be good.